Hey, this is Clayton, and in this video, I'm going to talk about metaphor and the power of language. What is a metaphor? I'm sure you've heard the word before, and I recently got this book called I Never Met a Four I Didn't Like. And in it, it says, a metaphor is describing something by relating it to another thing is the essence of metaphorical thought. It is one of the oldest activities of humankind and one of the most impressive when done skillfully. Throughout history, many masters of metaphor have crafted observations that are so spectacular they have taken up permanent residence in our mind. So why am I talking about metaphor? Well, just from that definition alone, you can see that there's some real power there. But why? Well, it's because metaphor exists at the level of context. And the level of context, when you operate or coach from or work with yourself at the level of context, it has the power to change the way that you relate to people. It has the power to change the way that you show up in life. It has the power to change how you relate to your work, your boss, everything, even yourself. A metaphor that's really common by Tom Hanks and Forrest Gump is life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Actually, I think that's a simile, but there is a metaphor in there of life being like a box of chocolates and relating to life as if it's a box of chocolates. Now, that context, seeing life that way, there's going to be a certain way that somebody shows up when they believe life is like a box of chocolates. There's going to be a level of curiosity. There's going to be seeing life as delicious. There's going to be a level of it being a succulent surprise, and whatever you pick and whatever direction you decide to go, there's going to be a tasty treat at the end for you. And that sounds like a very inviting way to live life, doesn't it? Now, to bring it to relationships, this line of thought, this line of thinking came up in a call I recently had with a guy that I was working with who came to the table with an issue he was having with his girlfriend. And what he said was this. He said, I just need to figure out a better way to handle our fights. When shots are fired by her, I've got to figure out how to handle that. Now, he said that in passing, and I could have, at that moment, jumped in and started talking with him within his reality and assuming that shots are being fired by his girlfriend and that he's got to run to cover or he's got to figure out how to disarm her or maybe get in a defensive position and outmaneuver her or flank her. And that would be working within his map. However, there is a certain way of being that is available to him when he sees his relationship that way, when he sees what in reality is a conversation between two people as some type of war metaphor where there's actually shots being fired at him. Now, are shots being fired? No, they're not. Of course not. I mean, unless she is pulling a gun out, which I'm sure happens in some cases, and shooting bullets at him, shots are not being fired. But that is the way that reality is occurring to him. And when reality is occurring a certain way to you, there is a way that you are going to respond to it. So the highest leverage point of being able to help him in this situation is not to step inside his map of reality and talk within the metaphor, which can help sometimes, but rather to bring attention to what seems like an unconscious way of describing what he feels the situation is. So he's calling it, there's a war metaphor there. So bringing attention to it so he can see that she's actually not firing shots at him, that it's the way that's just the way it's occurring to him. Then suddenly he is able to separate reality from the story that he's got wrapped around the interaction. And then from that place, he can put on a new interpretation. Because in reality, what's actually happening? She's opening her mouth and sounds are coming out of it, and he's listening and hearing sounds, and then he's opening his mouth and sounds are coming out of it, and then there's some type of decoding and understanding that happens or lack of understanding on both people's part, and then there's a certain way that he responds and is. Now, when you can get down to the brass tacks of what's actually happening and consciously strip away the metaphor that you've been using on that situation that has been disempowering, then you can show up and say, you know what? Maybe she's just expressing herself. Maybe what's actually happening is she has a complaint, she has a certain type of feeling in her, and the strategy she's using to get it out is one in which I could interpret as an attack, or I could just see the intention behind her is that she's not feeling heard, she's feeling wounded, and she's reacting from that place. Now, what that does, what that interpretation does, is it gives him access to a brand new way of responding to the situation. One where he doesn't have to get defensive. One where he doesn't have to attack back. One where he doesn't have to strategize. One where he doesn't feel like his life is at risk. How flexible and how empowered can you be in an interaction with your girlfriend if you are interpreting and thinking that she is literally shooting shots at you? Now, I get it. He understands she's not actually shooting at him. However, the animal and reptilian part of his brain is inside that metaphor, and if that is how it is interpreting this, he's going to be in fight or flight. And from that place, he's not going to feel like he's got his entire brain at his disposal. He's not going to feel like he has the ability to be open and vulnerable or think about the situation rationally and then stay in his adult and express what he's feeling, what he's experiencing in any way that's going to be productive. Do you get that? So if you're in a situation where you feel stuck, you're in a situation or you're in some type of confrontation with somebody that seems to be reoccurring over and over again, begin to look at how you talk about the situation. Is there a metaphor that's wrapped in there that is not productive? Is there a metaphor that you may be using to wrap your situation in that is less than desirable, that actually allows you to show up in a way where you really don't have power in it? See, people think that language is descriptive, but the ones that are responsible with language realize that you are creating your reality through the way that you talk about it inside your mind and out loud. You talk about it in a way where it constructs the experience and the story that you step into, and then there is a certain way that you can or cannot be inside that story. So if you are looking for some more tips on how to create a great relationship, I've got an ebook called The 8 Secrets of a Great Relationship, or 8 Secrets to Create a Rock Solid Relationship, that you can get for free if you visit my website and put in your email address. So I look forward to speaking with you in the future. If you think this video was inspiring, like it, subscribe to my channel. If not, you think it's BS, go ahead and put that in the comments as well. And I look forward to talking with you again soon.